Hello YouTube, JMontana36 here, aka JM36. Today I'll be showing you how to create an all-in-one dedicated Minecraft server. It's going to be, what I mean by all-in-one dedicated is basically the same system that hosts your server will be the same one that you use to manage the entirety of it. The only downside to this is that you have slightly less resources allocated for your server. So basically, because this version has a GUI on it rather than completely command based, some of the resources have to go to that GUI. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing you want is to find yourself a Linux distribution that's lightweight. Something along the lines of Ubuntu or WatchOS. Generally, I would recommend WatchOS over anything else. So you can grab Ubuntu. The reason I show Ubuntu first is because it is based on Ubuntu 18.04 LTS, which I would recommend getting. Although there's nothing wrong with Ubuntu 16.04, which is what WatchOS is based on. In terms of hosting Minecraft servers, you will not really notice much of a difference between 18.04 LTS and 16.04 LTS. So you can grab Ubuntu, 64-bit version of course, for a 64-bit system, or WatchOS. Not microwatt, but WatchOS. That RE11 on the homepage has been like that for a while, so I doubt there will actually be any. But you want to grab a 64-bit, probably direct download, if not BitTorrent. I'm not sure if BitTorrent would download quicker or whatever, but you could grab either. Because WatchOS is based on 16.04 versus 18.04 here, the install process might be slightly different. I'll be showing WatchOS here. So now, in terms of installing it on your system, whether you want to do it in a virtual machine, which is what I'll be showing here, you can also install it on a physical system. So with a physical system, it's pretty much exactly the same as it would be a virtual machine. The only difference is, with a virtual machine, you typically want to customize things a bit more. Although the same can be said for physical machines, but typically you don't really get as much. So here in settings, basically depending on the amount of memory that you have installed in your system, depends on how much you would want to allocate. Keep in mind that whatever amount of memory you wish to allocate to whatever Minecraft server you host within, you'll need to have a little bit more memory. For example, if you wish to host a vanilla Minecraft server with 1 GB of memory, you will typically want to have at least 1024 megabytes is 1 GB, so you'll want to have at least, I'd say, 256 megabytes more on top of it, at least, if not 512 megabytes. So either a quarter or half of a gigabyte additional. And the reason you want that is because the system itself also needs memory to run. For illustration purposes though, I'll be using 3 GB, but realistically you can set it for whatever you want. Here you want to change your boot order. I typically set it up like this and change that to PS/2 mouse. Enable PAE/NX, and I'd say have at least 2 processor cores if possible. You can also max things out if you want, but have at least 2. I'll have 4 just so things will be a bit faster in terms of the demonstration. So the next thing is video memory. Because this is a GUI version, has a GUI and all, you want to have enough video memory for the GUI. So between a virtual machine and a physical system, video memory takes up some of the system memory typically, unless you have a dedicated video card. So I won't say too much about that, but I'll just slide this up to 128, although you can get away with 32, I believe, or even 64 megabytes. On the physical system, you can play around with the setting a bit, assuming you're going that far. Now in terms of the controller, there's not really anything to mess around with here. I prefer to use the host AIO cache. This is VM related, by the way. And as for audio, it depends. Although, I don't think you'd be watching videos and things on the actual server, because you need more memory for that as well, since that's more stuff. But you could disable audio. And in terms of virtual machines, set that to bridge the adapter to whatever adapter you're using. This makes it a lot better and easier when it comes to like port forwarding and things like that. 0 ports you can leave alone, USB same thing, shared folders, user interface, you can leave all of that. Now we can fire it up. At this stage, hit F12 to get this menu. It'll probably ask you for whatever distro. You can see I have MineOS selected here. Choose whatever distro you choose and start up from it. Alright, so once you're here, depending on, well, I would assume that you want to have it as a dedicated thing, because that is what this video is for anyway. So once started up, you can jump straight into install here. But you can also test things out, like networking. If you're trying to use this with a wireless connection, you'll see if wireless is natively supported out of the box here, and if it is, you can connect. If you're using Ethernet, which is usually recommended over wireless, you can go to connection info and check it. So once you check that networking at least works in your either virtual machine or physical system, which there's no reason why there's not really many reasons why it wouldn't work out of the box. You can go to install. You can choose to download updates while installing. I would typically recommend that, but for the purposes of this, I'm not going to do that. And here, I would also recommend installing third-party software. Just so, in case something works in the live session here, if it's a third-party driver or whatever, chances are it won't work after you reboot, so I'll have that checked. Typically you want to have erase and install. There's nothing that really has to be changed there. Click on continue. You can choose whatever place you live in. This is for the time zone information, so it can set the time properly. Because of this weird screen resolution, you see parts of this are cut off, but change the keyboard layout if you have to. Over here where it says your name, you can put your real name or whatever name you want. Your real name will show up in places, well, I guess not here, but certain places will have your actual name show up. For the system itself though, not anywhere else really. So here you can change the name of whatever. I'll leave it here. I'll leave this name here because that's kind of what I would name it anyway. I'll probably put JM36 here, but you know, I'll leave it as is. Choose a username as well as a password. Usernames have to start in lowercase, and I would recommend keeping the usernames fully lowercase, not mixed with uppercases and all that. So just keep it lowercase. You may optionally choose login automatically, so I would recommend having it as require password. But login automatically is fine too, if you trust that no one is gonna just go to your server and mess things up like that. Now, in WiFi, the encrypt home folder is broken, so do not check that box or you will be stuck in an install loop, infinity install loop. You can click on continue and the install process starts. So we'll wait for this and we'll be back once it's over. Alright, so here we are back. Installation is finished. So at this point we can just immediately restart into the system. And the next steps will pretty much be installing everything you need for Minecraft as well as managing the server with MineOS. You can remove the install medium, which is the flash drive or the disk, or in the case of the virtual machine, it'll automatically deselect it, so just hit enter. Let it reboot. Let it start up. Here, the password that you selected / created earlier, you can enter that here. This right here is basically your system, your base foundation system where you'll be hosting and managing all your servers. Got the Firefox web browser by default, which is lightweight compared to Chrome / Chromium, so I would recommend you stick with that. But here you can just ignore that little message. My site, you want to browse to the Node web UI, and then this is WatOS, which is based on this Ubuntu 18.04. Well, it's based on 16.04 LTS, so choose this one. And basically from here, this is directions on how to get the Minecraft related parts as well as the management web interface running. Now, MineOS is made by someone else. His handle is HexParrot. So the difference between my install guide versus the official one made by him, mine has the actual Java 8 compared to OpenJDK 8. Some say the original Java 8 is faster and all that, so you can use either guide, but for the purposes of my video I'll be using my guide. So here at this point you can on your keyboard hit Ctrl-Alt-T and you get a terminal window here where you can basically copy and paste, or click on terminal down here and same thing pops up, or you can find it here, system tools. So basically, like copy and paste, hit enter. Now it'll ask you for the same password that you created earlier, type that in. Nothing will show up as you're typing it, but you are typing the password. Hit enter once you've typed it in. And you basically now have a root terminal, aka admin. Alright, so that's finally complete. Now with all the dependencies that are required by Minecraft, or what I should have said was the things that Minecraft and the web UI depend on to function properly. With those installed and out of the way, now we're on to installing the scripts for the web UI. We'll restart Firefox after. Now reboot, you don't have to, although it's usually sometimes a good idea to. But here you can right click, paste after you copy this, and you basically have your web UI for managing your servers. Alright, so at this point, now you should be able to, on the same system, type in localhost. Well, HTTPS localhost with port 8443. And I suppose it's not running, so What we will do to start it without having to reboot is service MineOS start. That way we don't have to reboot to get it running. And you'll see it says connection is not secure even though it's HTTPS. That's due to self-signed certifications for HTTPS. So you can just add exception and ignore that. This is completely safe, especially with it being localhost. Here, username, type in the username for your system, password, type in the password. You can optionally remember the password if you want. Here you typically see the amount of memory you have available. I'll hit remember. So this is now your all-in-one system for managing. The next thing I will be showing you is where to find where everything is stored. So once you're here, you can go ahead, create a new server. I will be demonstrating a vanilla based server. Vanilla 1.13.2. Server port, we can leave that the same. We can leave all of this blank, really. Difficulty optional, game mode optional, all of that. I would typically recommend enabling query, because query gives you this additional page on the side here on the server settings where you're able to interact with players a lot easily, or easier than having to use the console and all. Once it's ready, you'll see here status down appears. So now what you want to do next, because this is vanilla, Minecraft vanilla, it's going to be profiles, Mojang. Download 1.13.2 here. It says downloaded, it says downloaded. Then over here, go back to status. Change profile to Mojang 1.13.2. Copy profile to live server files. And here, based on the dashboard here, we have 2 gigabytes of memory at our disposal for our vanilla server or whatever servers we wish to run. So I'll put 1.5 gigabytes, which is 1536, I believe. Currently I don't have my number lock on. And the XMS you can leave blank or put a minimum. As for the broadcast to LAN, this would make it so that in the terms of vanilla servers, it'll show up in your Minecraft multiplayer list without having to be manually added as a server. In terms of start server on boot, this will make it so once the system starts up, or once the web UI starts up, it automatically starts the servers. As for the unconventional or not conventional server thing, typically you only want that for, say, waterfall or bungee cord, so leave that unchecked. And you can also have this set to autosave, and as for auto restore points and archives, that'll come later on in the video. or in another video. But anyway, after you have the profile set and all that, and the memory, change your runnable jar to the Minecraft server jar. Hit start. So go ahead, accept. Start. So as you can see here, I'm starting up Minecraft. And because I have the broadcast to LAN enabled, it should automatically show up in my multiplayer list. And as you can see, I have other physical servers on my network here. So I do have other servers already here. This undefined one is a bungee cord or waterfall server. So it says undefined, but you can still connect to it. And this is a modded server, so forged server, from the same system as well. But this is the one we care about currently. Since when does Minecraft need encryption on their packets? Alright, anyway, so we're on the server. You can see player interaction. Here I am. And by the way, this is on my actual system too. So essentially, once you're at this part, you can pretty much whatever. Let's create a spygot. I should probably also show where things are located. I'll show where things are located after. Spygot. Leave that as well. Defaults. It says down, so it's ready. So Spygot is here on the side. Because Spygot changed how they distributed their thing, you have to download build tools and then have it build the version that you want. So afterward, these become available. Click on build Spygot. You can scroll down and it will start to build Spygot. Now the first time will take a while to do, but the subsequent time shouldn't take as long. Yeah, so I guess while this is going on, I can show how to access this from a remote system. So here, connection information. See an IP address here. Whatever this IP address is from your host system or, well, a remote system, which could be any other computer or whatever. HTTPS. Well, you could also use the host name, but I'll show with the IP. Here you see does the same thing. Go to advanced, proceed. Have your GUI. Log in the same way. There we go. You can manage the server remotely outside. Basically the same thing. Except because you're using this system as an all-in-one management system, you really don't need to use an external system to access it, really. Alright, so I don't think I have ever really compiled Spygot with the web UI before, so I'm not sure if it redirecting you to the homepage means that it's done, but I see a lot of done down here. So I'm guessing that it did finish. Copy to Spygot. Now back to the dashboard and onto SpyGot, and change the runnable jar to SpyGot or Craft Bucket, whichever you choose, but I would choose SpyGot. Set your XMX value to whatever memory like before. I'm actually gonna see what I set that to. I'll set that to the same 1536. Also accept the EULA. Start. Alright, so we now have a SpyGot server up and running. Now, assuming you'd want plugins, which is what most people running SpyGot would be using SpyGot for, and from here go up to / which is root or root directory. Then you go to var games Minecraft servers, and actually back here you see archive, which is where if you create archives, which are basically like zips of your server, they will appear here in the server name in archived and server name. And if you have a server you'd like to import, this is also your place to go. Go to import and drag it there, and then you can import a server from here. But to interact with the server files, go to servers, and in this case we're using SpyGot, and you see we have all the typical stuff, including the plugins folder, which is where you drag and drop your plugins after you download them. So here we can save. Yeah, that is the latest version. Here in downloads you see there's tabs here. You can right click and copy that to plugins. From our web UI we can reload. I'm actually going to relaunch Minecraft and log in. Alright, so here we are, SpyGot. Shouldn't be loaded. And here we can reload if that's still a thing. And you can see the files just got updated right here. Okay, so we'll have to refresh because it generated a lot. Refresh there, go back here, and reload complete. Now we should have plugins X. You can create different amounts of users to access the web UI as well. It's under preferences, users and groups. You can add users. And now with that new user added, we can go ahead and log in. And as you can see, we have a new user that's able to create their own servers and all. The only thing is, if you want to share servers, that is where groups come in. So manage groups. We'll add a new group. We'll add the members to it. So we've added both these users to it. Can now log off here. Log back in. And what we will do next here owner, we will change this to a group that we just created. We'll apply it to here. And theoretically it should have switched. So now we should be able to... Yep, here we are. And now see those two servers that we added / shared with the group, because this user is also in that group. So you can have multiple users managing servers. They can use commands and all that. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to discuss or cover in another tutorial video. And yeah, tell me how I can improve as well. Guys, in the next video, whenever that will be.